In today's video, I've got some brand new fall DIYs to share with you. We are crafting on a Dollar Tree budget as always. I hope that you enjoy. Let's get started. I have this frame. This is from the Dollar Tree, I'm pretty sure, but if you don't have this exact thing, you can certainly make it. But I wanted to do something with the little twine and clothespins, so this was perfect. But again, if you don't find this exact one, just take a frame of any kind. But we're going to just open that up, take out, we do not need, well, we don't need those obviously. And we're just going to pop out the back. So this is super easy. Anytime I'm looking for something to DIY with, I just look how easy is it to take apart. So I was just kind of observing how the twine was in there because we're going to have to come back to that. But for now, I just wanted to do the background here. And it's just a little bit bigger than a regular piece of scrapbook paper. I'm not sure the measurements on this, but it's not an 8 by 10. So, right, that's the size of, it's not the standard size of craft paper, scrapbook paper rather. Okay, so I'm gonna use a glue stick because I'm just gonna use the roll of craft paper. Now this was the end of the glue stick, and so it was a little bit goopy. It'd probably been around a while, so that made it a little bit trickier, but sorry, we're gonna smooth it out. Anyways, we're just gonna lay this on. Glue stick works really great. The craft paper from the Dollar Tree, there's two different ones. One is thicker like a shipping paper, and then there's this one which is thinner. So because it is thinner, this is what I currently have on hand. I was really trying to smooth it out because of the glue, but I didn't want to do Mod Podge. I just felt like that might be a little risky with how thin it is. Probably the iron-on method would have worked, but that's okay. We're using a glue stick. By the way, now's the time to go get your glue, like the white glue, the glue sticks. Go get them. Everything's on sale, okay? It's back to school time, so stock up for the year. So once we got that on, I used my brayer and then a little squeegee tool to really just smooth it out. There was one part that was a little bit wrinkly, but that's okay. But because the back of this frame was like a cardstock, I didn't feel like I could paint it. So that's why we're covering it. And then I'm just gonna go over this. Even with the glue stick, the iron-on method does kind of help work to smooth things out. And okay, so basically we're just creating a background for our piece. We are gonna use the little twine and all of that. But I just wanted a textured background. So now we're going to Mod Podge on again, I said I wasn't want to use the Mod Podge because of the paper, but I'm covering it with the burlap, so it doesn't matter if it gets wrinkly underneath. This was just a scrap piece of burlap. That's just literally the shape of it. And I wanted to do like a haphazard, not symmetrical, not even. This is going to build, and you're going to see we're going to build another layer, another piece on top. But I was going for a textured, multi-textured, layered look. You can just do a plain piece of scrapbook paper or simply a plain painted color, or even have left it black if you want. But I just thought this was fun and I wanted to share it with you. So I'm going heavy with the Mod Podge on top of the burlap too to soak through it. And then we're going to, these paper doilies come from the Dollar Tree, and a bunch of them come in a pack. They're in like the dinnerware section, and I love crafting with these. When all is said and done, you don't know necessarily that it's a paper, and I just love the layered look. Once again, this is off-centered. I'm not trying to be centered in my piece. So I'm going to Mod Podge this on. The paper doily will get a little bit more wrinkly because it's thin. I'm not going heavy with the Mod Podge, just enough to stick it in place. Dried it a little bit, and now we're going to smooth this whole thing out with my mini heat press and like just have a parchment paper to protect your iron. As you can see, there was so much Mod Podge, it stuck a little bit to the parchment paper. I was able to peel it off no problem. I guess I cut that part out, but use the parchment paper. Now, this is gonna look a little crazy, but hang with me. I, again, wanted to go with some texture, and I wanted it to look aged and blended, and building on it, I wanted it to look haphazard. It ends up not looking completely psycho, okay? So here is how it looked. To me, it looks old and stained. But, you know, if you don't like that look or you think what I did looks crazy, then don't do that, obviously. We're going to trim off the excess burlap. There wasn't really much. The scrap piece really worked out perfect. And I wasn't worried about all of the burlap laying flat or all of the doily laying flat. I just didn't want it like bouncing up, if that makes sense. So I liked how it looked. Now I need to add another layer of twine, and the original ones were in here with staples, but I'm just going to add in with a little bit of hot glue. And I did pull off the clothespins because I didn't have more in that same size or enough in that same size. So I'm going to switch them out. I accidentally put in the little hanger. Okay. So now I'm just using some clothespins. These are, you can get them at the Dollar Tree. You can get them at like any craft store as well. I think you can get them at Walmart as well. So I'm just working on my spacing now. We're going to make a little sign, and I don't have any punches that I could do like the right size or shape that I wanted. So I'm just going to do little rectangles because I knew I could keep them straight and consistent with my paper cutter. So I'm using some like thick cardstock here, and I did cut them to the size based on the words I was making and the stickers I had for this. So these stickers I believe are from Dollar Tree, and I'm looking at how they look on the clothespin because I wanted to make sure that the letter wouldn't be covered up by the clothespin. So I'm just gonna work with what I have, and I love this one. So I'm just gonna make a little sign that says "Hello Fall." Love using tweezers for the stickers. It makes such a difference when placing them down. And I'm just kind of working on spacing here. The F was a little too long, but I was able to trim it barely, and it fit perfect, and it doesn't even look like it's trimmed. It doesn't look like off proportion to me, or disproportionate, I guess would be the better way to say it. But anyways, I love this one. Let me know what you think. Let me know about the distressing. Maybe it's too much for you, but you can certainly take the concept of this and go any direction you want for really any season. This doesn't have to be fall specific if you don't want it to be. And it is fun to have pieces that don't necessarily scream the season. So this is fall, but doesn't overly scream it because that'll blend in good with all of my colorful fall items. All right, this one's gonna be really simple. I have one of these glass pillar candles from the Dollar Tree. The sticker was like kind of a ridiculous one, so I'm heating it up with my heat gun, which is interesting because there's a candle in there. It did get a little melty inside the glass, but it was fine. It just hardened back up, so no worries. But I'm just gonna peel off that sticker. The heat gun works, or if you have Goo Gone, I like to also use orange essential oil, or you can just soak it up with some water, soak it up. Yeah, get it nice and soaked and then peel it off. Anyway, we are going to wrap this pillar candle with more scrap burlap that I have. Once again, I know I sometimes sound like a broken record, but not everyone watches all videos or even all of one video. I think that layering textures and patterns and things like that really kind of elevate the look of a piece. So that's what I'm going to do here. And we're just going to decorate this candle for fall. I use this one for just like for emergencies. Actually, it's burnt because I recently lost power and used this candle. But Dollar Tree has these all the time. They have them in colors too, but I like the plain white one. And we're going to just put a little bit of glue, hot glue on the burlap. We don't have to glue it like crazy, but I do want it nice and tight so that everything we build on top of this will stay put as well. If you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it so much. It helps me out, and it encourages me as well. So I'm just using my little pokey tool here to pull out one thread on either end of the burlap just to give it that frayed look. And I have no regular size like twine in my stash, so what I've been using is the thicker jute and just pulling it apart. So I pulled out like 2 strands worth of the jute, and then I went into my stash and I pulled out some leaves. I needed a certain size and I wanted some variety, but this yellow and green one, I just didn't love the look of it. Like, don't get me wrong, none of them look real, but these just looked particularly, I don't know, not great. So I'm just dabbing on some antique wax, just kind of in the edges, and then build it across. And I'm just doing this because I didn't like the look of them. You could get some nicer ones. These are definitely probably from the Dollar Tree, but I'm working with what I got. I keep telling you guys I'm working with what I got, using my craft stash. And if it's not exactly what I'm looking for, I'm going to make it into what I'm looking for. So I didn't want to go crazy gluing everything onto here. Hot glue will come off the glass fairly easy if I just heat it up a little bit if I want to remove this in the future. But I don't know. I was just trying to figure it out, like laying them out. How will they wrap around here? Anyways, I'm just doing a tiny dab of hot glue in between, and I'm just basically layering the leaves, but I didn't want it to look overly, like I wanted it to look a little haphazard. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you know what I'm saying here. So we're just going to put tiny bits of hot glue and then really fully secure it with the twine. And I'm going to leave the strands on that nice and long. And then I wanted to add more detail and texture, so I went into my scraps. These are literally scraps of floral pieces. Now, because I did not glue the leaves down completely, I was able to kind of fuss with where I was tucking everything. I tucked some of it underneath the twine, but then some of it I didn't want to be covering the leaves, so I tucked it underneath the leaves in between where the glue was. So maybe think this through. Maybe you want to put the other embellishment pieces behind the leaves and just think and work backwards when building this. But I'm just using a couple of different things. I have this little wheat looking piece, little cornstalk pieces, that's from Hobby Lobby. I just love all of the different textures. And then I'm going to fray and untwist the bottom of the jute there just to make sure it just was hanging the way I liked. But let me know what you guys think about this. I think this is a fun way of just adding maybe a little pop of fall in the midst of other decor. It's not, too much, but it can just be one piece in the midst of maybe your regular decor if you don't like to change out everything. I think just adding in a couple of pieces is a great way to do that. So I had come across a couple of these baskets, some from eBay, Walmart, Wayfair, Amazon, some website called Inspire Uplift. And I was like, I feel like I could make something like this. So that's what we're going to endeavor to do. But first, I needed to figure out something to get the shape that I was looking for. So I just took some books. I have a lot of them wrapped in brown craft paper for my decorating. And then I'm just wrapping this really well with some plastic wrap to protect these completely. They're just giving me the shape I'm wanting to make, like a pocket style basket, hanging basket. And we're gonna use that jute cord that I have been using. I told you I had 2 jumbo rolls. Now, you may not have 2 jumbo rolls, but you can buy them. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that in a second to do it cost effective, but I'm showing you what I'm doing here. I'm making the handle up top here, and I'm gluing the jute to itself. That is important because those books need to come out. So we're going to glue it to itself. This first part was what was tricky. I actually had something over my workspace that I was trying to hold up the handle so I could get that first top rim going. Having another set of hands would have helped. So the piece that is wrapped around the bottom of the books, we're really just using that to attach everything to and to help us create the handle. In between each time, you're going to really want to hold that glue as well. You don't want it to shift before it is hardened. So just keep that in mind. This is an easy project, but it was a little bit time consuming. But you're going to see I'm going to hot glue on the sides. Right now, that's all I'm doing along that jute that is hanging down the sides of the book. I did put the handle towards the back of it because what is going to be the back of it, not in the middle, because it's going to be a hanging basket. So also something to keep in mind. Now, one of these rolls of jute, the one that I'm using right now, my mom gave to me. I have another one that, and you can see it's actually almost gone. I have another one that I bought at a thrift store, brand new, for like $6, but it was originally from Hobby Lobby, I think for like 25. Now you can get the like jute or nautical stuff from Dollar Tree. However, you're gonna need a lot of it. If you like to do a lot of crafting, I highly recommend going and buying a bigger roll at Hobby Lobby. Get it when it's on sale. I do think that is the most cost effective for a large project. So I'm just gonna put that out there. Now for the bottom, I am just carefully, again, still just gluing on itself, but working my way in. This is when I was like, okay, I need to start closing this up. So I'm putting a little bit of hot glue in between. We're gonna finish that up, but it was kind of coming apart on me. But while I still have our form in there, we're going to just glue each strand together. Okay, and then I decided I needed to pull it out before I could do the bottom. So I was having a hard time pulling them out. So I ripped open the plastic wrap, pulled out the center book, and then I was able to pull out the other. So definitely use more than one book instead of a small book because I think that that'll be easier to remove. The plastic wrap, however, was stuck by a little bit of hot glue. So I just left it in there, shoved it to the bottom. I'm like, that'll be filler. And then I do have a finger protector underneath inside the bag. I am putting more hot glue, gluing all the way across, and pushing them all together so that this bag is not going to come apart when it is hanging. And now this is the bottom of the bag. So that piece that is going across the middle was originally underneath the books. We're going to eventually just kind of cover it up and push that down in. We are building, just going in slightly each time as I put glue on there. And it ends up looking like, to me, like professionally finished at the end. So this just takes a little bit of time. Anyway, if you are new here, welcome. My name is Leanne and I enjoy sharing budget-friendly DIYs on this channel. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on my future videos. I cut that off and tucked it in there, the end in there, so the end was inside the basket, and then just put some hot glue in between the layers using a finger protector. Now carefully, I'm going over this with a lighter to mainly, I wasn't so much worried about the little furry fuzzies from the twine. I was more so thinking about the hot glue strands. You can see a little bit of hot glue in between the rope, but it didn't bother me. If it does, you could always stamp over it with like some antique wax and you wouldn't be able to tell that that was what it was covering up. But I love this. I put in some mismatched fall florals. These are from the Dollar Tree at some point along the way. And I love this piece. I think this is so cute. And once again, this one isn't like necessarily screaming fall. You could put any florals you wanted in there, but I do love it for fall and we'll be using it for fall. Let me know what you guys think about this one. This craft is a quick one and all you need is either a paper towel roll or a toilet paper roll, like the center piece, you can see that, and then some jute or some yarn or whatever of your choosing. So I'm just cutting off a piece about, I don't know, maybe like 2 inches long, and I'm cutting little slits and then folding in the top and the bottom to kind of round it out. I've seen these ideas a few different places and I didn't really watch a tutorial. I'm just kind of winging it. That's just what I do. So I did that top and bottom and then folded them down to just give us a little bit of a rounded edge. And I'm using some jute because, well, you know, I've got a lot of it. So for this, you're going to have to just cut off a piece. I was just guessing about the length. It wasn't end up being quite enough. I think it might have been easier to do shorter ones and then just multiple of them. But anyways, you're going to thread this through. I just put a little bit of hot glue to start it, really just to start it and end it. I didn't need to do hot glue the rest of the time. And I'm just pulling it to make it tight. I mean, not like you can't yank on it, you'll squish the cardboard, but you know, just making sure I'm kind of holding the end in each time to make sure that, like at the top or bottom, whatever, to make sure that we're just making it nice and tight. We're just going to thread this through and wrap this around. And now depending on what you use, see, I'm really speeding this up for you. Depending on what you use, you may have to do a few layers. If you're using yarn and it's thinner, you might have to do multiple layers because you're going to want to go until obviously the whole thing is wrapped around, like wrapped on the outside, but you also want the center to be closed up because we're making this into a little pumpkin. But I thought it was cute, really easy, something that's just, you know, if you're not looking for like a big project, but you just want to make a little something, I thought this was a fun option. So because I'm using jute, it is filling in the center. So I end up not having to do multiple layers. And I'm just going to, let's see, we're going to just keep wrapping. Yeah, we're going to wrap. Then I realized I wasn't going to have enough. So I'm going to put, I'm going to trim it off because it was coming unraveled anyway, put a little bit of hot glue, and then we'll just start again with a second piece. So you can certainly do that however you want to do it. Anyways, I thought this was really cute. So we're just going to wrap that until it is covered. If you haven't made it to this point in the video, would you do me a kind little favor and leave me, well, I always want everybody to leave me a comment, but if you can leave me an emoji down below, we're going to go with the fall leaf, and that just lets me know that you made it to this point of the video. I just think it's fun to see who watched. I know that not everyone watches the entire video or they speed through it, they fast forward. I get it, and that's fine. I'm not, you know, I'm not mad at you about it, but it is fun to see who is watching like the whole thing and is paying attention. So if you want to leave me that down below, we'll know that you're a part of that club. All right, so once I got the whole thing covered, now we need to really make it look like a pumpkin. So I just pulled a tiny leaf off of a scrap floral piece, just a single leaf off of something that had multiples, but it was the right size for this. And then a little wooden piece. I have these from the Dollar Tree. I got them years and years ago, but you can of course go out to your yard and just get a stick there and just hot gluing the leaf and the stem into place. And that is it. I think this is really cute, great way to add some like texture. And like I said, you could do it with yarn, you could do any colors you wanted, but I think it's just cute. It's a nice little size to fit into a, vignette of some kind. And I just love decorating with pumpkins. When it comes to the fall, I feel like you can never have too many pumpkins. That's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new, and make sure your notification bell is turned on if you are subscribed so that you don't miss out on my future videos. Leave me a comment down below letting me know which one was your favorite. And if you have not done so already, please head over to Facebook, same name, Simply Enjoying Crafting, and find me over there. Before too long, I plan to be sharing some bonus content over there, so I don't want you to miss out. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye, guys.